Hi there and welcome to this video blog with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. This is the second in the series on front crawl swimming for triathletes. Last week we dealt with body position. This week we're going to go through the next phases of the BLABT system, the legs and the arms. We're going to try and do that mostly on the computer, but we will come back and give you prime examples if we can. And we'll try and give you examples of both good technique and common errors that occur with both legs and arms. So we'll go to the computer now and we'll see you again shortly.
Okay, so here we are again. We're looking at Adam. Adam we looked at last week. We said he was going to do the Dorney 10K at the weekend. He did. He did it without a wetsuit in 2 hours and 3 minutes. He was the first non-wetsuit person home. The only people to beat him were two wetsuit swimmers who did it in 2:02. Can't help thinking if he was wearing a wetsuit, he probably would have won that one. 2 hours and 3 is quite good for 10K. Okay, so what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we've got a 6-beat kick. And what's he doing actually with his legs? As he comes next to us, we'll look at that. Now it looks like he's bending his knee, but if we take it back, you'll see he's raising his thigh, and as he brings his thigh down, that creates the bend in the knee as the foot trails the thigh and the knee downwards, and he kicks hard with that. This is virtual backward movement with his foot there. That's 1, 2, 3, 2. There we go. Upwards as 1 from the hip. From here it's going upwards, and as he pulls that thigh down, that's when we get the kink in the knee and forcing that leg down. And you can see he's always, or virtually always, within his body width on that. Let's look at Philip here. Philip's a good kicker. He can kick 100 in about 1:15, just with a kickboard. So let's have a look at him. Now again, it looks like he's bending his knee, but if we take that up, you'll see he's raised his thigh, and then as his thigh comes down, the kink in the knee happens, and he really has a powerful kick. We'll have a look at that again. Again, the leg rises from the thigh, and then as the knee comes down, as the thigh, complete thigh and knee comes down, it creates that kink, which enables him to kick back against the water. Right, he's also got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, a 6-beat kick. Let's compare that to Chris, who's a reasonably good triathlete, and you can see a complete difference here. His feet are down in the water, but that happens. So he's actually lowering his knee to create that kink in his leg. We'll have a look at that again. His leg's fairly straight there, but the knee bends and lowers, which it shouldn't be doing, moving outside of his body width, creating drag, and then bang, his foot straightens up, or he kicks backwards. So it's a bit of a bicycle kick if we look at that. You can see that bicycle coming in. There we go. Yeah, so he's kicking backwards from the knees, but to do that he has to lower the knees in the water. So what we really want is more like Philip and Adam. If we show this, where you're actually level in the water, you're never going outside your body width, and you've got a powerful kick because you're initiating it from the hip there, as opposed to initiating it from the knee. Okay, so we're now looking at arms under the water, and we've got Adam again, and we're going to explain what two terms that you may have means. You see Adam's position there, where his elbow's on the surface and his hand and forearm are in line with themselves but have actually moved down. That's classified as the early vertical forearm, or EVF, you might hear sometimes described. If we move him on, we're going to describe another term called reaching over the barrel. Now you'll see Adam has actually dipped his hand down. I wish he hadn't, really, because reaching over the barrel is where the hand and the forearm reach over an imaginary barrel who's centered around that position. So if you imagine a barrel right there in front of Adam, he's actually reached over the barrel to the other side of it. Yeah, and that is a great catch position in the water. So he's actually caught the water with his forearm and his hand, and that is going to be driven back, and that's well in front of his head. You can see that. Let's just play that forward. And again, he's starting to drive down slightly too early with his elbow, but he does get into a position where you can see that curved arm and that barrel that he's reaching over. His drive down there was instigated by the fact that he's breathing. If we watch Adam from in front, see where the position of his hands is relative to his body. He's actually bringing his hands underneath his body, and then his hips are turning at the back end to get out the way of his hands. If we see that in slower motion. Okay, so his hands entering virtually level with his shoulder and palm down. He is actually dipping his hand or curving his hand out, which isn't that good. It could keep in line. It's a much stronger position. You can see there he's pointing his hand slightly down. But the hand is underneath his body, traveling the length of his body as he goes down. If we look at the other hand, he's done exactly the same thing with it and turned it down. But as it goes through, he's actually quite close to the center line of his body. And if his hand was straight, that actually would be under the center line of his body. And that's where your hand wants to come once it's driving underneath your body. And then as your hand drives back, you can see the hips have to go out the way. And his hand is actually facing backwards there, not upwards. So he's still pushing back on the water, and then bang, he's released it and he's starting the recovery. The recovery is actually easier to show out the water, so that's what we'll do.
So you've seen some video there that hopefully is very helpful to you. And the easiest way to explain the arm motion above the water is for actually to see a demonstration from me. From the side, the arm motion in the recovery is very much a very relaxed motion. So you're pulling from a release position and the hand's relaxed. The hand becomes level with the shoulder there and never overtakes the elbow before the shoulder. You can see that. And it comes forward and lands in level with the shoulder and face down. So it's level with the shoulder and face down there. And it comes through underneath the body, underneath the body, underneath the body. That's how it should go. Now, what we hope never to see is a thing that I'm hoping to term hand-centric swimming. So if you ever hear hand-centric swimming, it's a term invented by me, and you've heard it first here. Okay, hand-centric swimming is this. Someone goes in, comes back through the water, and then bang, the hand starts going forward. Now that almost always puts the elbow below the hand, and the elbow should always be above the hand all the way through the stroke in front crawl. It also does another thing. If you do it yourself, you'll feel tension down the whole of the arm and across the shoulder. Whereas if you relax, you're actually bringing the arm forward with the deltoid there, and everything else is very much relaxed. And that's really what we want to see in front crawl. Okay, that's the second part over the legs and arms of the BLAD system. Next thing we're going to deal with is breathing and timing. They're very much related together, and in my opinion most people's difficulties in front crawl comes about through the sheer knowledge that they have to breathe. Alright, I'll see you next week. Hopefully you've enjoyed this.